The future belongs to those who dare, those who will do extra. Hi, I'm Mark Croskery. Welcome to Business Live Extra, the program that looks beyond dollars and cents to the movers and shakers in business and the capital markets. Today's guest has a strong technical and operational background, coupled with financial and strategic management skills. He has a Bachelor of Science in Chemical Engineering from the University of Madrid and an Executive MBA from the Institute of Impressa Business School. He has an extensive industrial and strategic experience developed in his 18 years in various key positions at Cemex operations in Europe, the American Midwest, and Central America. His most immediate post was that of General Manager of Arawak Cement Company Limited in Barbados. He assumed the role of General Manager of the company he is representing today on August 1st, 2019. Joining us is Yago Castro, Managing Director of Caribbean Cement Company Limited. Yago.
Hi, Mark. How are you?
Great to have you. Welcome to Business Live Extra.
My pleasure.
Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks to you for having me.
Yeah. Yago, they call you you're like a Cemex baby. What does that really mean, and how long have you been with the company?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I've been my whole professional life with Cemex.
Yeah.
And I'm actually have a kind of heritage in the cement industry. My dad used to work in this industry before.
Really?
So, yes, I mean, it's long ago that I started thinking about cement, and fortunately I had the opportunity to follow the steps of my father and work in this amazing industry.
And you mentioned your dad. Did he work with Cemex or with a different company?
Well, technically it was a different company. It was a local company at that time in Spain. Actually, it was same as Car Cement, was bought out by Cemex afterwards in 1992. So technically, he didn't work for Cemex just for 1 year, but it was, kind of Cemex as well, before it was a local company, as I said.
And you joined Cemex in what year exactly?
2004. So it's been 18 years already.
18 years already.
Yes.
And in Caribbean Cement, when did you jump into that role?
Well, it was 2019 in July. As you said before, I was the general manager of Arawak Cement. Probably you know that both Arawak Cement and Carib Cement are part of TCL Group, which is also a subsidiary of Cemex Group. And yes, in 2019, I was asked to join this amazing company in this amazing country. So I said yes, of course, and that is why I'm here.
And is TCL, I would have seen from the financial markets, TCL, Trinidad Cement Limited, is it still kind of a part of Cemex? Is it still around? I mean, is it on the Trinidad Stock Exchange, but is it still a part of kind of the modus operandi, or is it, defunct and no longer out there?
No. The company is active. I mean, actually, is the group which Car Cement is part of. Car Cement is part of TCL Group, and TCL Group is part of Cemex Group. So answering your question, yes. I mean, the company is, of course, active. It has businesses not only in Jamaica and Trinidad, but also in Barbados, in Guyana. Right. I mean, we source most of the English Caribbean, if you want.
Yes.
So it's an important company in the region. Yes.
And when you just give us some type of context of the Caribbean, who's the biggest in cement, let's say concrete in the Caribbean now? What's the biggest kind of market when you look at the Caribbean? I mean, how does Jamaica stack up or rank in terms of just the tons produced or even consumption?
Yeah, well, Jamaica is one of the most important countries overall, I would say, and of course in the cement and the construction industry is not an exception, right? So when you talk about the size of the market, if I'm understanding well, the question is more about the size of the market of cement. I would say that is the second biggest market in the Caribbean region. Jamaica after Dominican Republic.
So DR is number one, okay.
DR is number one.
And where does, there's always been a perception Trinidad is sometimes bigger and better than Jamaica, historically. I mean, things have changed in the last decade, in the financial markets, especially in the stock market. Where would Trinidad rank in regard to that question?
I'll have to check, to be honest with you. Trinidad is also an important market for us. It's an important market within the Caribbean, no doubt about that.
Maybe top 3 or top 5 in terms of consumption?
It would be a top 5, I would say. Yes, no doubt about that. But I know that sure it would be, like right number 3 or number 4 or number 5. But I mean, definitely within the top 5, I would say so, yeah.
And all of these markets, Yago, have plants, like how Jamaica has a plant, I mean, Trinidad has a plant, Barbados, you mentioned, has its own plant?
Yeah. Not every country has a cement plant, right? I mean, basically, in the English Caribbean, if you allow me to call it like that, I mean, the only 3 countries in which integrated cement plants are Jamaica, Trinidad, and Barbados. The 3 of them belongs to TCL Group. Right. And the rest of the islands, basically because they are smaller islands eventually with less population, etc., they source cement from foreign markets. I mean, they have an import model.
So they have an import policy,
exactly.
Or they import the cement.
Exactly.
Yeah. And how, you mentioned about your dad. So in a way, cement is in your blood, right?
Yes.
So would you say when you got into, kind of into Cemex, you already had a passion for cement, or did you kind of join the company, from those early years in a specific department? Was it finance? Was it engineering? Or, R&D? Or where did you start your life at Cemex?
No, I mean, I guess there's some kind of romantic idea behind all this. I mean, when I was a child, I used to go with my dad, to the cement plant. He used to take me there on the weekends. He used to be the plant manager. I mean, he used to take me to the laboratory and, and to see the big machinery there. So I don't know. I mean, I developed certain kind of affinity about the business. Mm-hmm. And then afterwards, when I was 18, like many kids, I wasn't that sure about what to study.
Yes.
And I said, okay, maybe chemist can be, a good idea. So at that time, it was the possibility of chemical engineering. And I think it really made a lot of sense for me. And that's how everything started, But yes, answering your question, there's a kind of, heritage thing behind, being in cement, yeah.
And so, like most companies, when you join the companies, you have to kind of join and start a job. Where did you kind of start off with the business? Were you on the, sales side, finance side, or where did you kind of jump into?
No, I was hired at that time in Spain in 2004. It was a big wave, a big construction wave, kind of the one we are enjoying now in Jamaica, and they were requesting a lot of technical people. So. No, I was directly hired as an engineer. I started in the company in a program that we have that is called Professional in Development. It's something that we've implemented here in Jamaica right now, that we are hiring people from the university, technical positions, to bring them in. And that's exactly how and why I started. So I was transferred to a cement plant, to the production department, and I started there. And I was like almost 10 years working there. So I know very well the business, the operational part of the business because of that.
And when you say professional persons from the university here, the technical team, you're helping to, sell cement to large developers? Or when you say that, what do you mean, if you can expound on that?
That is a program in which we bring in people from the university, probably just coming out from the university. And we put them in a rotation mode within different departments of the company.
Like a management trainee.
Exactly.
So that's where you started?
Yeah, I started
in 04?
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
Okay. And Yago, one thing you've kind of said or highlighted on is you actually worked in many markets with Cemex. Not just, let's say, Spain or let's say Jamaica, no. I mean, what other markets have you kind of worked in under the Cemex umbrella?
I mean, that is, as a company, we are operating now in more than 50 countries. I mean, we have, presence in different continents. Basically, in America, Latin America, and we're very strong in North America, Central America.
But I mean, you specifically. I mean, in terms of...
specifically. Well, as I said before, bulk of my experiences in Spain. Of course, I'm a Spaniard. I spent there 80% of my professional career. But then in 2017, I was sent to a project in Midwest, in Israel, where we have a very big business there, a concrete business, a different kind of business, but a big business. I was in charge of, doing some business development projects there. And after that, I was transferred to Central America.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was like kind of going one way and then to the other way.
Okay. And it's made your experience, or probably our transition into Jamaica, a little easier.
Yeah,
with all that global experience.
Definitely. I mean, and the possibility of first going to Barbados, also that easy up things a lot, in terms of understanding, the way of doing business in the Caribbean region.
Yeah.
Even though Barbados and Jamaica, of course, are two different countries, two different, a lot of different things, but at the same time, it's also Caribbean region. So yeah, that definitely, I think you're right, and that helped us.
We're going to come back to that point, Yago. Thank you.
Thank you.
We take our first break on Business Live Extra. More when we return. Welcome back to Business Live Extra. Caribbean Cement is one of the leading cement producers in the Caribbean, far surpassing the production of other countries in the TCL cluster, such as Trinidad, Barbados, the Bahamas, and Guyana. Caribbean Cement Limited is a part of Cemex Group and represents an investment of over $400 million in Jamaica. Carib Cement is located at Rockford in Kingston. It runs 24 hours per day and year-round with an approximate production capacity of more than 1 million metric tons. Caribbean Cement directly and indirectly has over 1,000 employees. To tell us all about the company is Yago Castro, Managing Director of Caribbean Cement Company Limited. Yago, welcome back to Business Live Extra.
Thank you.
It's great having you. You know, that 400 million US, investment that we quoted, over what period of time has that been? Has that been kind of one-off, or has that been over, kind of a series of years, or what period of time is that kind of?
Well, I mean, when we talk about the overall investment, is basically the standards of the industry. When you have a 1 million tons capacity plant installed in a country, you talk about more or less $400 per ton. So we can say already talking that is an investment of $400 million roughly. Even though, of course, the capex dynamics of a business like this is something that is coming every year, putting more and more money on top of that. But yes, overly talking is the size of this business that we have here, the size of this kind of plant, 1 million tons is like $400 million, we can say roughly.
Well, and is the business at the point where, I mean, of course you have to do a lot of maintenance annually, keep doing capex, but is the business at the point where it's not too bad, or is capex like a percentage of that? Like, is capex 10% a year, or 5% of the 400 million US per year, or are you at the point where it just runs nicely? You don't have to keep doing too much capex now. I mean, what's the state of the kind of like the balance sheet today?
Okay, cement is a very capital-intensive business. I mean, it's a business in which the capex maintenance is always a good portion of the revenues of the company. It's something that it must be done on a yearly basis in order to keep the productivity, the efficiency of the main equipment, and that is key for the final result of the business. So what we've seen in the last 5 years, and maybe we can get into details afterwards, is a totally turnaround of the business, as you can see in the numbers. And it's basically because of many different things, but capex component has been key here. So answering your question, yes, we've been investing and putting more capex that would have been useful in a more mature plant, in a plant with less needs of investment. But in the case of Car Cement, probably the level of investment that we've seen in the last 5 to 6 years, maybe in the coming 5 to 10 years, won't necessarily be as high, because we've done a big part of the job.
You've done all that foundation. Yeah. You've maintained it well.
Exactly.
Yeah. And what's kind of the I saw an announcement. What's kind of the outlook? You're doing some upgrades now, whether it's this year or next year. You want to move from 1 million metric tons to how much capacity or how much output do you want to move to?
Yes, you're right. I mean, the company announced a very important investment project last year. I mean, the idea of the company is to keep on betting on Jamaica, to keep on investing, in having a more solid company here in Jamaica, and also extending capacity. We are seeing a good opportunity to fully cover the market that we have here in Jamaica, and probably to look for even export opportunities in the future. So the idea is to do a big investment. As I said before, we have a very important team of engineers working on the project. We are progressing very well, I can tell you. It's a big project. I mean, we are basically reforming half of the cement kiln, so it's taking some time. But the idea is to take the production up to 30% if we can.
So 1.3 million.
Yeah, 1.3 more or less could be a target figure that we would love to reach in the coming 2 to 3 years.
Okay, so maybe 2023, 24?
Yeah, something like that. I mean, at the end, what is also happening right now is that the delivery times for the spares and the machinery is a bit delayed because of the international situation.
Just the shipping, the global logistics.
And, exactly, supply chain.
Is it a one-time thing, or is it kind of phased? Like you'll do 1.1 million, 1.2 million, or is it just a one-time big project?
It will be a one-time big project, but we will collect some, let's say, low-hanging fruit is how you say, right? I mean, there's a component that we can install even this year, which it will give us like kind of 3 to 5%, increase in production. But basically, the bulk of it will happen all at the same time. Answering your question, around 2023, I would say. 2024.
And primarily that decision, let's say, the board decision, the company decision, is just driven by the strong local demand.
Yeah,
that's happening in the housing sector, the multiple sectors. Okay.
That's correct. That's correct.
And are you exporting any cement now, or is it primarily all locally driven?
No, I mean, we are channeling all our product to Jamaican market. Bear in mind something, I mean, the Jamaican market has increased dramatically in the last 2 years, and this is a very important point. I mean, when you consider the baseline of demand that we used to have in the country in 2020 compared to the one we have in 2022 after the pandemic, we are talking about plus 20, plus 25%.
Yeah. And what do you, Yago, you're the best person to ask this insight to, right? Because it kind of seems like an oxymoron. I guess, whether it's Statin, whether it's PSOJ, JCC, I mean, any organization, even business journalists. I mean, anybody, you read our national newspapers or just anybody, maybe even the central bank, anybody, but you ask even an economist a question. It seems like an oxymoron. But you're the best person. You're in the board meetings. It's like an oxymoron again. I say, pandemic hits, every industry goes down, but cement, or let's call it construction, not only goes up but booms. Whether you say 20%, 30%. What does going in you're in the business in a board meeting. What explains this phenomenon?
Well, it's a very difficult question to answer. I mean, I have my theories, right?
Is it as simple as saying interest rates, or is it a mix of things?
No, you mean the increase in the demand, in the cement demand that we're seeing the last 2 years? It's a phenomenon that is not only happening in Jamaica. I mean, we're seeing this in too many markets. So when everything started in 2020, when the pandemic, we were all, I was going to say scared, but we were worried, about what is going to happen, because people are going to have, probably less possibility of buying cement, and they will be taking care of many other things, not, building a new house or building a new bedroom or whatever. But it was exactly the other way around. And I think that's a personal opinion. I think that something changed in the mindset of people who really gave more importance to the fact of having, more space, a better place to be in the case of being locked down again, to have a bigger room, a bigger place to stay, and also a mindset, a saving mindset of having more real asset, real investment, more than intangible assets or financial investments or things like that. So that's the only explanation I see, but it's, as I said before, it's a common pattern that you can see in many markets, not only Jamaica.
So you saw it in global markets. It's not just a phenomenon unique to Jamaica.
Precisely in the Caribbean region is something that we are seeing very, very clearly. Also in Mexico, which is our most important market, we saw that as well.
Any global markets or any developing markets, or just mainly Caribbean and Central?
I would say developing markets. You're seeing that very clearly. But if you take a look to U.S. and you see the number of housing units that they are starting this year is crazy. Has the construction market booming there as well. And
so you do see it happening in some more developed markets as well.
Yeah, exactly. Probably Europe is a different question. More mature market in terms of construction. I don't know, but in case of, for example, U.S. and U.S. is not precisely.
So you could really attribute the phenomena to, maybe family life, real assets versus just say stock market, bond market. Yeah. A more secure asset class.
Yeah, that's my opinion.
And how is it trending so far, 2022 year to date? Your outlook for the rest of the year. Are you seeing that type of incremental growth so far, or is it slowing down a bit?
It's slowing down a bit. The good news is that we are keeping basically same level. I was taking a look to numbers just yesterday, and I was seeing a decrease of 0.9% in the cement sales, so year to year. So that's basically a flat performance. And when you're coming, from a different baseline that has increased, 20 or 25% in 2 years, keeping the same level, I think is very good news. So.
Very good news, yeah. And how 1,000 employees. So you're giving back to Jamaica. You're creating employment in Jamaica. How is that with the kind of construction boom you're seeing, the demand, for the metric tons? Have you been employing more Jamaicans over the past, 2 years, or is the business just really efficient? Your kind of employment has flatlined.
When we talk about 1,000 people, I like to talk about collaborators, right? We're talking about different people, the people that work with us every day in the plant, and people also who haul our materials to the plant and from the plant, our products to the market, etc.
So like your truck drivers, haulage drivers, everybody.
So I love to say that we create a whole economy around the plant, and I really believe it. And yes, answering your question, of course, we're giving more jobs positions, offering more job positions to the market at the time that we are producing more, we are moving more products, we are bringing more raw materials to the plant. Yes, definitely. The whole thing is bigger. And yes, we're creating more employment. I don't have a doubt on that.
That's fantastic. We're going to come back to that point shortly. Great.
Thank you.
We take another break on Business Live Extra. More when we return. Welcome back to Business Live Extra. Caribbean Cement registered 6.81 billion Jamaican dollars in revenue for the first quarter ended March 31st, 2022 versus 5.96 billion in 2021, the year before. The company's net profit respectively was 1.59 billion versus 1.52 billion, or earnings per share EPS for Q1 2022 of $1.87 per share versus $1.79 per share in Q1 2021. Caribbean Cement's share price has been trading at or around Jamaican 60 to 65 per share, and its 52-week high or low is Jamaican 146 and 12 cents versus 58 and 51 cents or so. Caribbean Cement's market cap is approximately Jamaican 53 billion as of May 31st, 2022, and over the past 5 years, the company's market cap has increased by approximately 111%. Caribbean Cement has not paid a dividend in approximately 21 years to shareholders. This is expected to change this year, 2022, as a dividend policy was approved by Caribbean Cement's board of directors. Board meeting held earlier this year on March 23rd, 2022. Additionally, stockholders' equity, and that's the total stockholders' equity, closed the first quarter at 17.4 billion Jamaican. Still with us is Yago Castro, Managing Director of Caribbean Cement. Yago, welcome back to Business Live Extra.
Thank you.
You know, if you're a shareholder, a minority shareholder in Caribbean Cement, you've done phenomenally well. You know, from a market capitalization standpoint, it's probably one of the best performing stocks on the Jamaica Stock Exchange. We have something like 99 ordinary shares listed now, almost 100 shares. But, you know, going back, you know, how long? 7, 10 years ago, I mean, Caribbean Cement used to be single digits, something like $5, $8 a share. I mean, went as high as 146, but, you know, now, you know, around the 60s, the 70s price range. So would you say your shareholders are super happy, you know, when you go to annual general meeting?
Well, I'm not a shareholder of the company, so...
Well, you don't have any shares?
Yeah, no, I don't have any shares.
Okay, you need to jump in there, you know?
Yeah, well,
it's a good sign of confidence.
It's a possibility, it's a possibility.
Yeah. As long as you don't buy in the blackout periods, as they say.
No, of course not.
You know, but a managing director having some shares, some skin in the game is okay. Great.
I will give it a thought. Well, I would say that, I mean, we have a nice story behind. I mean, honestly talking, when you see, you know, the capital markets are the smartest, you know, people in the world are there. So if they are aiming, you know, to invest their money in buying, you know, Carib Cement shares, and they were not that willing to do that before, it's because of something. So probably they are seeing not only the numbers, but also the performance. As I said before, I think we have a lovely story in the last 5 years, let's say, you know, taking a company that was in a financial distress, you know, with certain difficulties, without the possibility of generating organically enough cash flow, probably, to, you know, to pay back the debt, and at the same time to invest as much as it was needed in the company. As I explained before, it's a very capital-intensive business. So the fact that a big company like Cemex step in, really trusting Jamaica, trusting the company, really put a lot of investment, not only in money, but also in time, in people, you know, importing state-of-the-art technology. And finally, you know, completely turn around the company. You see a company that is free of that, basically, right now, with the equity growing like hell. I mean, you're seeing that, you know, it's a 30 bagger.
Because your shareholders' equity at one point was, I mean, really impaired, or was negative, you know, some time ago, a ways ago. But now it's positive, it's doing well. Your retained earnings just keeps building, significantly positive cash flow. And as you said, probably very little debt or very low debt now, or debt to equity ratio compared to where it's coming from.
Definitely, and you can see that in the annual accounts. And now, you know, as you mentioned before, we've came to the point that, you know, the company is going to propose to the shareholding of the company, you know, the payout of a dividend for the first time, I guess, in 17 years. I mean, I was reading from 2005. So at the end, this is another example of, you know, that things are being done in the right way, that, you know, as I said before, we turn around the former situation, which was very bad.
And everyone loves a dividend. I mean, one thing, and especially in Jamaica, we love a dividend. I mean, cash is king. I mean, cash is always great, but it's you know, it's $1.50 is what you've proposed. Jamaican $1.50. I mean, it's $1 billion plus dividend. But there's been a little bit of noise out there about it. You know, interestingly, I mean, even though you are paying a dividend, sometimes you can't do everything right. But you know, you've addressed it, and as you said, you're actually taking it to shareholders, not just the board of directors, which is also unique. So you seem like you're kind of going above and beyond, or you're doing a little bit extra as a company.
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, we need to focus on what we can control, and what we can control, is trying to do things properly, trying to sustain the big growth that the construction industry is having in Jamaica, to have a solid core industry, as I believe the cement industry is. We cannot control every single opinion. I mean, everybody has their own opinion about what happens out there. But we truly believe that we're doing things right, that we're doing things, of course, completely legally. We don't have any doubts about that. I mean, we're following everything strictly by the book. We are that kind of company, not only in Jamaica, but globally wise, I can assure that.
Right.
And, then opinions, I mean, we've received a lot of very, very good feedback, I can
Good
tell
feedback
you.
Overall.
Yes, from a lot of
And is that feedback coming from shareholders, market analysts, I don't know, investor briefings, or is it just, like
Everything.
Market feedback?
Everything, I mean, collaborators, stakeholders, people from the construction industry, I don't know, I mean, analysts, I mean, as you said before, everybody is really congratulating the company, for the turnaround process that, it's been experiencing in the last 4 or 5 years.
And Yago, on that point, I mean, everybody knows what your product looks like, right? But for somebody who doesn't know what your product looks like, what are the measurements, or, how do you sell a bag of cement, or what are the measurements for cement? And, cement is pretty simple. I mean, are there any innovations on the horizon, or you just kind of keep it plain vanilla, you keep it simple? It's going to be the same thing next year, the same thing 5 years from now.
Well, I mean, and I'm glad you made that question. I mean, yes, there's a lot of innovation behind it, I can tell you. It's a product that is being produced for many, many years. So essentially, it's the same product that was produced, 20, 30 years ago. But there's some piece of innovation that is being added up. And in the case of Car Cement, this is something very important, because one of our strategic priorities as a company is try to reduce our carbon footprint. All right, I mean,
and what does that mean for for a guy who doesn't really understand too much about that?
Sorry about it being that technical.
I know there's all the the green market and the green bonds, and ESG is a big topic now.
Yeah,
everybody says you gotta get something in there on ESG, but walk us through this whole carbon footprint.
Yeah, sorry about it being
I know it's not about the carbon footprint, but if you're driving in from Palisades to the airport, you got a beautiful mural up there.
Yeah,
is a mural the part of carbon footprint, or no?
Well, that is part of trying to be a better company, a more responsible, social responsible company. But no, when I'm saying about reducing carbon footprint, within the production process of the cement, CO2 is emitted. I think the cement industry is something like liable for 8% of the global CO2 emissions in the world, right? Okay. So we as a company are really putting a lot of effort and, bringing this up as a first priority, one of our 3 or 4 or 5 big priorities to reduce the amount of CO2 that we are emitting. So answering your question, yes, we put a lot of, let's say, technology or R&D into the manufacture of our products lately. And actually, last year, we launched a new low-carbon cement here in Jamaica. It's a cement that has exactly the same properties structurally wise, but the amount of CO2 that is emitted with it is plus minus 15% less. 1.5.
So it has the same strength, or if you test it or so.
Yeah, of course.
Okay, and the whole CO2 topic, is that what you can go and sell those CO2s and make revenue, or the credits, or make revenue as a Jamaican company globally? Or
no, we're not there yet. I mean, it's something that is working, for example, very smoothly in Europe, where there's a CO2 credits market that is very liquid, and the different industries just interchange them. That is, in a daily basis, I would say that is quite common. But here we are not there yet. I mean,
you're not there yet, okay.
The whole thing in this part of the ocean, not only in Jamaica, but in South America, Central America, North America, it has to be yet implemented. It will eventually come, I guess, but it's not here yet.
Got you. And Yago, stepping back a bit, not on the dividend policy, but your market cap now is, 57, 58 billion and change, but it's been in the kind of 50 billion range. Let's say in US dollars, just for simplicity, using the 150 FX rate, let's say 400 million US or so.
Yes.
Of course, as a managing director, CEO, it's not something to manage the stock price or the board, but you're coming from 146, and you kind of had that noise out there, about the royalties and stuff. But when you really look at the royalties, analytically, it's not that big of a figure, compared to the dividend you just paid, compared to your profitability, although a lot of analysts out there made some noise about it. But when you look at the numbers, speaking independently. So when you take that all into consideration, I mean, have you thought about, or has the board thought about doing some maybe some investor relations just to kind of get out there and clarify to the market, from a shareholder value standpoint, or is that not necessarily something that's on the agenda or the horizon?
Well, I mean, if you ask me, I think we provide a lot of information when we implemented this scheme. I mean, this scheme is just a scheme that is globally common, I would say, not only within our company, within a lot of companies. And it's good corporate governance in the way to rule the relation between a parent company and its subsidiaries, right?
Right.
So it's more a question of that. It's not a question of making better numbers on, I wouldn't add the math component to this. It's more a question, as I said before, to improving the corporate governance and really the way it rules, the relation between the parent and the subsidiaries.
Well, like terms of reference.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think abundant information was shared publicly at that time, again, following everything strictly by the book. And if you ask me, I wouldn't find, the need to add more information.
I think there's enough info in the market at this point.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I was publicly out there. So.
There. Great.
But yes, I think you're right. I mean, the number, when you compare that with, the benefit of now paying out the dividend to the shareholding of the company, which really demonstrates the ability of the company to do well, to generate enough cash flows, I think that is the good news after 17 years. And I think, as a shareholder, if I had, shares about Cement, I would really more focus personally, in the value that the company is already creating.
And the financial performance.
Exactly.
No, great
But
points,
it's just
Yago.
a personal opinion, of course. As I said, I'm not a shareholder.
No, I understand. No, well said. Thanks.
Thank you.
We take another break on Business Dive Extra. More with Caribbean Cement Managing Director Yago Castro when we return. Welcome back to Business Dive Extra. Caribbean Cement has embarked on an ambitious strategy to reduce their carbon footprint called Future in Action. The program focuses on sustainable products and solutions, decarbonizing operations, innovation, and partnerships, and promoting a green economy. As part of this initiative, Caribbean Cement recently rolled out its co-branded low-carbon certified cement in February, and it is now fully incorporated into the local construction industry. We find out more on these new initiatives and the future plans of the company. For a final time, we're joined by Yago Castro, Managing Director of Caribbean Cement. Yago, welcome back.
Hey, Mark.
So carbon, you're speaking about the carbon footprint, CO2 emissions and stuff like that. Tell us some more about carbon. It seems to be a major theme. And we've seen also in some of your annual reports where you're doing things for, I think it was like farmers or rural areas where you'd come in and, build some, concrete, roads or just help out where you can. What is Caribbean Cement doing on just the whole, corporate, social, philanthropy or just giving back as well too?
Okay, answering the first question about, the decarbonization, we've launched, as you saw in February, as cement, we have a brand that is called Virtua, that is a kind of umbrella brand for all the low carbon products. So basically, I would say like 85% of the cement that we are selling right now in Jamaica is low carbon cement. It's a cement, as I explained before, is an innovative cement. It's being developed as part of R&D process using state-of-the-art mixtures and technology in order to get the same product with the same strength, but around minus 15% CO2 emissions.
Okay.
And this is very important for us because we are committed as a company to dramatically reduce the impact that our activity is having in the atmosphere, is having in, in the global warming, and CO2 is a gas that really contributes to that. So we are also, and probably you've heard about that, we signed last year a memorandum of understanding with the government of Jamaica, and we are taking care of tires that are currently dumped in the landfill in Riverton here in Kingston, and we are co-processing them in our kiln. So this is another.
How is that project going so far?
Well, it's going well. It's a project that lately we've slowed down the rhythm in which we are able to co-process them because of certain technical limitations. So it's a challenge, but we are getting into it, and it's something key for us for the coming years.
Mm-hmm. When did that project start? Was that a couple of years old, or is that just from last year?
Well, as an idea, it started long ago, like 3 to 5 years ago, but it came to reality, when we made this agreement. So it's an important part of our Sustainability Future in Action initiative. But we want to go one step further. I mean, we can be a solution for the urban residue problem, let's say here in Jamaica. In our kiln at Carib Cement, we can co-process also urban residue. Of course, certain capex, certain investment is needed, both in the landfill and in the plant, but we are really looking to, having a very good look into this, and we want to propose, being a solution for circular economy for the whole country in the future. We believe that we can have a real important role into this in the coming years.
And for the social responsibility, I kind of giving back, I mean, there's so much in Jamaica, I'm sure, and I'm sure you get many applications. How do you really choose, what say, area, what parish, what rural area you kind of go and do? I mean, I know, of course, Caribbean Cement, you can't do it all, but how do you go about that based on one of the programs that we saw?
Look, CSR is an angle of everything we do. I mean, is basically, I would say personally, the thing I feel more proud about, having the possibility of paying back the country, eventually with our products, with good and nice projects in order to sustain and improve and the living conditions of many Jamaicans around the country, something that really makes us very happy. We have a department with 2 people, young, talented Jamaicans who are really 100% of their time working on this. So they are the responsibles for choosing the different projects, all around the island. We receive a lot of requests, I can tell you, every day.
Nice.
People really knows about Carib Cement, about the ability of Carib Cement of giving back, of doing a lot of projects, so we are receiving a lot of requests. So basically what we are trying to do is to be able to reach our people, to reach different communities through our products and solutions. So the bulk of what we do is basically concrete pavings. We build things, of course. Yesterday we are finishing a new basketball court in the area of Bull Bay, for example, 95% finished. Farm roads, the rehabilitation of farm roads. I mean, we try to use our products and our techniques and our processes in improving.
And is it like an official foundation or charitable foundation, or it's kind of like within Caribbean Cement?
It's within Caribbean Cement. I mean, we discussed in the past the possibility of having a foundation, but for the time being we're operating just as another department, as another activity of the company.
Right.
But it's, as I said before, we are trying to reach as many people as we can. We also have a strong focus on the kids, on the youth. That is very important for us. And of course, unavoidably, a lot of things that we do is around the place where we are. So, the communities around Rockford, around Clarendon, which is where we have the lime plant as well, is another place in which we try to do things for the community to improve, the living of those communities there.
And just for clarification, Yago, out kind of where you see, like, over by Palisades, where you kind of see some, aggregates or quarrying materials, does that have anything to do with Caribbean Cement, or that's nothing to do with your operations? Well, you see some barges kind of coming in sometimes and everything. Does that have anything to do with CCC?
I mean, the port, you're talking about the small port that is
small little port right there when you're going out.
Well, this is a port that currently we have a license to a third company. We are not operating that port.
So you're just collecting some maybe rental income or something like that?
Yeah, we are collecting some tiny rental income, I would say, but it's a nice way also of allowing a third party, a Jamaican company, to do an export, which is very important for themselves and for the country as well.
The country,
so we're happy.
It seems very busy, like it's doing well.
Yeah, it's doing well.
But for CCC, it's really just rental income coming in.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is a port that we don't need at this stage, and we can contribute, as I said before, to another company to do good, and also to export, which is something interesting from a macro point of view, an inflow of hard currency and all this. Right. So yes, we are happy to.
And when you look at you're still catching up with demand. The demand is great locally. When you look regionally, could there be a time when Caribbean Cement needs to buy other plants in the region or expand, or that's more of a Cemex mandate?
Well, I would say it's more the kind of things that you take a look overly, globally wise as a company. What I see for Caribbean Cement expanding the range of products, and services, attending other markets from Jamaica.
From Jamaica?
Yes,
okay.
that would be...
Not necessarily buying other plants or stuff.
Exactly,
okay.
but reaching with our spare capacity in the future, once we put in motion all these big projects that we are working in and all this, probably putting in the market, in the Caribbean market, being competitive enough to start exporting our products and our services to other customers in other markets.
And let's say you go up to 1.3 million metric tons, 2023, 2024. I mean, that expansion is being done at Rockford, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Do you have more land space? Do you have more area there to increase capacity again one day to 1.5 million metric tons or 2 million metric tons, or do you run out of land space before you could double capacity?
Well, I don't think land space will be a restriction, to further expand our capacity in the future. I don't see that, at first glance. I would have to analyze that.
So you're good there.
Yeah, we're good there, and we have some pieces of old equipment that we could demolish as well, which is something part of what we are doing now is demolishing all parts that are obsolete. We are not using them anymore. So I don't see a restriction there, to be honest with you.
Okay. And, competitive landscape. There's this kind of, new business or relatively new business, I guess, Jamaica partner, Domrep partner, out in Montego Bay. Is it, great CEOs, managing directors always say they just focus on their business, but has that been impacting Caribbean Cement much at all? I mean, it seems like they have about 10% market share now or so, growing ever so fast, but are they a company now on your radar, or you just let them do their own thing?
No, I mean, we compete in the cement market in Jamaica, but we have two different business models. I mean, we believe in the long-term business model of creating a whole economy around the plant and, leaving all the welfare that is related, all the business improvements, all the business advantages of having a strong investment here in the country. We believe in living this here in Jamaica, while the trading model is a very profitable model, but just for a few, and it's short term because it's not related with, really building up investment or capital or whatever in the country. So
you really view it as two different business models,
completely different business cases. Models. I mean, and again, trading business is a very profitable business because the only thing you do is you buy and then you resell and you do a profit. So it's a beautiful business, I can tell you. I mean,
so one is really capex heavy, one is
there's no capex.
No capex.
There's no capex and there's no long-term, I would say, model, for the country as a whole. So we believe in the case of Jamaica in the fact of keep on investing, and transforming Car Cement in the best cement company in the Caribbean region, and that is what we are here for.
And coming back to your products, what's your single? We know the products that are in the hardware stores. We know what the retail market buys, but sometimes you see those big trucks with those massive bulk bags. What's really, when you look at your concentration of revenue, what is the single largest moving product?
The bag cement.
The bag cement.
Yeah, bag cement accounts like 75% of our sales.
Okay.
And that is why you see so many flatbeds all around, full of
just carrying those full of bag cements. Yes. Yeah. And sometimes I guess they're just so heavy or economical, you don't have to really tie them down, eh? They just sit nicely on the flatbeds. Going across the country. They
are masters. I mean, the way they are able to pack everything, and transport them. Those guys are really talented, I would say,
And you think, Yago, you wear the shirt so well, right? You got Cemex on one side, Caribbean Cement on the other side. It comes back to kind of what you've been doing, in the last year and the financial statements. I mean, could we see one day whereby, I don't know, the brands crossover, Cemex Jamaica versus Caribbean Cement, or not something you can talk about yet?
I don't know. It could be. I don't know. I cannot answer that.
I mean, it has a nice ring to it, the logo.
Yeah, I mean, I love the two. I love the two brands. I think the two brands mix up together very well.
Yeah.
Of course, there's a process in which the Cemex brand is being more renowned and people knows more about Cemex each time, and I think that somewhat is an unstoppable process.
Sure.
The way the parent company is becoming more renowned in Jamaica, but at the same time, Caribbean Cement is a very strong brand.
Strong brand.
We also believe that we are somewhat Jamaican company as well, of course. So
clearly,
keeping that duality, I think, it makes sense for the time being. But anyhow, it won't be my decision at all.
No.
And it will take time. We will see.
Clearly, the intellectual property of both, very powerful.
Yeah.
No, Yago, thanks for joining us on Business Live Extra today, making the time, and great results, great market cap, powerful company, and great earnings.
Thanks a lot, Mark.
We
Thanks
appreciate
for having
it.
me. I appreciate that.
Thanks, Yago and Caribbean Cement. Great. That's it for another edition of Business Live Extra. Remember, it's a construction of the foundation that will stand the test of time. We've been talking with Yago Castro, Managing Director of Caribbean Cement Company Limited. Don't forget, you can watch us online at cvm.com/videos/Business Live Extra. Thanks for joining us.